welcome to Henry & Sons. I'm Mark Henry. Today we're going to be servicing the whole top-end 4-point bearing region of this HP20E. Before you get started, make sure you disconnect and lock out all power. Work safely. Make sure you have the proper PPE, safety glasses, etc. And we're going to walk you through the whole process on how to do this entire procedure step by step. Okay, a couple things we want to assess here before we get started. Typically, there's plastic caps that go into these holes here to cover up all of these socket head cap screws. So this machine, there's none in. So typically when these are in, I usually take a small punch and put it in the center, hit it with the punch, and then just pry these out. You got to remove all these plastic caps to start with. And secondly, we want to pay attention on what size feed hole is in the throat here. This is going to be down the road, but this particular machine has a 130 by 140 feed hole. This is considered the large feed hole in the throat. There's two sizes. There's a 100 millimeter and there's a 130, 140, which this one is. So we're going to go ahead and get started here by taking these 4 bolts out. This is to remove the catch ring. Okay, and in some rare cases, this catch ring will just lift right off, but most of the time it does not. So there's threaded holes, there's threads in these holes for 12 millimeter standard bolts to pull the catch ring off. So what we're gonna do is, I've got some 12 millimeter hex head bolts. We always like to use anti-seize. Anytime you're pulling on a fastener, always use anti-seize because you're loading those threads. It'll just prevent the two from welding together, which I'm sure most of you have experienced. It's never fun. Okay, so we get those guys started in there. And we're just going to bottom all these out. And we want to go in a crisscross pattern and just pull this catch ring off gently. Just like that. And there's your catch ring. This one is in definite need of service. Now, there are shims usually under here. And when we're doing a full top-end rebuild, you can just discard these shims. We're going to put new ones in it and shim it from scratch. And we're going to take all of our measurements and shim as necessary. But this catch ring looks pretty hammered, so this is going to get replaced as well. Okay, next we're going to remove the spring energized seals, which it's hard to tell. This is real world stuff here. This is not a brand new piece of equipment. This is one that we took in on trade-in, and so as you can see, it needs some serious some love. So you just got to kind of scrape this off, but there's a spring energized seal in here. You just got to get a screwdriver in here carefully and just start removing these. This is the inner one here. As you can see, this machine has had some major neglect. And this should never ever be this dry in here too. There should be food grease all around this region, which when this fitting is greased regularly, this condition won't happen. And then on the outer side here, same thing. There's another spring energized seal out here. Sometimes these are a little bit tricky to get out. Sometimes you just got to kind of run your screwdriver around there because this literally rusted in. Once you get it coming up, it should come out fairly easy. There we go. So you can just kind of run your screwdriver around like that and pull it out. See, there's the spring that's inside. That's why these are called spring energized seals. Just be careful not to cut yourself on these springs. Okay, so there's our 2 spring energized seals. And next, what we're going to do here is remove this outer ring. And there's 6 socket head cap screws down in here that we're going to remove. You can come around here. They have a little bit of a cutout you can see right here. So that's where the socket head cap screw is. Get some of the, sometimes there's some silicone in here, and you can just kind of pop that silicone out to access the socket head cap screw. And I think what we're going to do now is we're going to take a quick little pause and get some of this cleaned up, and we'll be right back. All right, we got this cleaned up, and now you can see the heads of these bolts. And you just go ahead and get in here and take these off. These are a short head bolt also, so do not use a ball Allen key on these. When I get one out, I'll show you why. But you want to use a good square edged Allen wrench. As you can see, these are a very short head socket head cap screw, so you got to be careful with them. We usually always replace these anyway, but if you strip it out, it's just going to cause more of a headache for you. We do supply these in our full top-end rebuild kit too, these 6mm socket head cap screws. Okay, so now we got this is the outer ring. So now we're gonna get a screwdriver lightly underneath of this guy, and this should come up. Just gently move this up around. Keep moving it up until it comes off. And there's your outer ring right there. And this is called a packing cord. You can discard this. And there's also going to be most likely some shims underneath of this outer ring, which you have right here. Again, discard these. We're going to provide all new shims, and we're going to shim it all proper. So you can discard these as well. You can just take a putty knife carefully. These shims are sharp, so be careful. And a lot of times when you get breaking into these things, they'll be stinky, depending on how they've been maintained. As you can see, we're getting the real treatment on this one. This thing is, like I said, needing some love. So next, so this is all off, and now we want to take the bolts out of the funnel insert. Okay, so right off the bat here, just some analysis. Oh, I missed one here. Let's get back and get that. All right, so you see how all these bolts are up? The heads are about 1/4 of an inch above the face. That one right there, there's an issue with. So sometimes these threads that are, as we get into this video, I'll show you, these threads below here get stripped out because the threads that capture these bolts are in cast iron. And so a lot of times people try to pull this funnel insert down with these bolts and they blow out the cast iron threads. Okay, now we got everything out of here, all of the hardware out of the throat. We have the outer ring off. This here is the 4-point bearing. So our next step is to pull the throat out of this machine. And we have a complete, it's a funnel insert puller and installer, and I'm going to show you how it all works today. So first of all, we want to take this tool right here. This actually serves two purposes. We use it to pull the throat, and we also use it in this fashion to pull the throat back in. So you want to take this and put this counterbore hole fairly close to the center of the funnel insert. And this is our pulling device here. So we have two different size adapters here. This is for the 100mm throat, and this one is for the 130, 140mm throat, which that's what we have here today. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to put these bolts in here. And what this does is this centers the puller so you don't damage the main structure of the machine. So now I'm going to put this in. Now you want to make sure, see this real thin edge? There's not a whole lot of material at the back here to grab this funnel insert. So you can see right there, it's about 1/8 of an inch. So now you want to put this in just like this and set that there. And then this is our puller bolt, and we've applied anti-seize to this because anytime we're pulling, we want to make sure we got anti-seize on it. So now we're just going to spin this down into this. Actually, I think I'm going to get my tool here to expedite this process. So now we want to bring this up just like that. So you want the edge right down here, you want this to be up against the funnel insert. Actually, there's a little bit of a gap on each side. You can see, you can kind of balance that out. I like to go a little bit more on this side because again, we only have that little bit to pull on. So you want to make sure that this threaded bolt is in that counterbore pocket. And we're pulling that way, and you want to get everything tightened up before you really put the juice to this thing. Okay, so I know you're probably thinking that this is a huge puller for what we're doing here, but sometimes these funnel inserts are really stuck in here. And the OEM, they put these two threaded holes right here. They're 10mm jack screws to pull this funnel out. And 8 times out of 10, you're not going to have enough pulling force on these to extract this funnel properly. So that's why we've developed this extremely large, powerful puller, because it makes small work of this. Okay, now we got everything set. Now we're ready. I brought out the big 3/4 impact. You can get a big crescent wrench with a cheater bar, but this will definitely do the job. So here goes. This is going to pull that funnel insert out. As you can see how much force that took to remove that funnel insert, there's no way 2 10mm jack screws are going to apply enough force, pulling force that is, to extract this. That's why we've developed this puller, because it works very, very well. So now, there's your funnel insert, O-ring. So this is most likely going to be replaced. It's pretty damaged. These surfaces here that you shim against are just banged up. So we'll probably end up replacing this with a new part. Okay, so we got the funnel insert out. Now I've taken some 10 millimeter bolts with some washers on them and threaded them in to the top here of this 4-point bearing. And this is a great demonstration of neglect. If you don't grease the 4-point bearing, this is what happens. So I've just got a little pickle fork here on there with a cheater bar, because this bearing is in there. So I'm gonna put some light pressure on this and try to get this bearing to come out. It moved. Now I'm gonna go over to the other side. Do the same thing. Okay. This should get it all the way out. Okay. So I'll keep the bolts on so you can grab the bearing so you can see just how much of a mess this thing is. That's a disgrace. There's just dried up grease. I think this machine has sat for a while. I think that's pretty obvious here. But we're gonna get this thing all like brand new. So anyway, that's how you remove the 4-point bearing. So we're gonna go ahead and discard this 4-point bearing. This thing is junk for the obvious reasons. Okay, so at this point, everything's disassembled. Everything's out of it. So now we're gonna go ahead and clean all this up really well with a putty knife and some screwdrivers, and we're gonna check these threads out, and we'll come back and focus on those details.